After I broke up with the A-list actor, his parents kicked him out of the house. He complained on social media, "A child needs parents." Vivian. The whole internet exploded. Trending topic: Henry and Vivian got a kid. Then he posted again, "Give me back my parents. This 360-month-old kid can't live without his parents." I had just gotten back from a vacation out of town and hadn't even reached home when I got a call from my agent. "Vivian, what did you do? You and Henry have a child?" I was completely confused. Huh? My agent sounded exasperated over the phone. "Henry actually posted on social media complaining about you. Congrats on your first #1 trending topic since your debut." I quickly opened social media, and indeed, the top trending topic was prominently displayed. Henry and Vivian got a kid. My agent was being modest. It wasn't just one trending topic. There were several more below. How did Henry and Vivian meet? Vivian maternity photos. Henry, a child needs parents. I casually clicked on a topic and found out that Henry, who hadn't been active for a long time, suddenly came back from the dead early this morning and posted a message, "A child needs parents, you know what I mean?" Vivian. Even though it was the middle of the night, this sentence of his instantly ignited the trending topics. Netizens followed the account he tagged and found me. Vivian? Seems pretty unknown, never heard of her. Her photos are really pretty. If she and Henry have a child, I can't even imagine how good looking their child would be. They match in looks, I'll ship them first. Wake up, everyone, they broke up. They're already dividing the kid. What is going on? Henry and I did date and we broke up, but we don't have a kid. Just then, my phone rang again. It was Henry's mom, Aunt Carol. I quickly answered. "Vivian, are you back yet? Auntie made some pigeon soup today, should I bring some over for you?" A male voice also chimed in from the other end of the phone. It was Henry's dad. Uncle Bob's tone was also full of anticipation. "Vivian, Uncle caught a big fish yesterday. Do you want it braised in soy sauce or steamed? How about both?" The elderly couple's tone was as usual. When Henry and I were together, his uncle and aunt took special care of me. The first time I visited their home, Aunt Carol held my hand for a long time, excited, and finally managed to say, "Don't worry, Auntie will love you like a daughter." They were true to their word. Anything they thought was good, they would send my way. Sometimes even Henry would get jealous and exclaim, "Who is your real child?" The elderly couple would immediately answer in unison, "Vivian." But now, Henry and I had broken up, and his parents were still so good to me. I felt like I didn't deserve it, so I politely declined, "Uncle and Auntie, I won't eat. Henry and I have already broken up." Before I could finish, Aunt Carol interrupted, "Oh, don't refuse me. You can break up with Henry, but you can't stop being close to Auntie. That little rascal Henry is blind. It's okay for you to be mad at him, but don't be mad at us. Your uncle and I have already kicked him out of the house. Since you two broke up, well, Auntie wants to ask you, would you be willing to be our goddaughter? Don't worry, between a stinky brat and a good daughter, we definitely want the good daughter." A barrage of words came out like a machine gun, completely stunning me. Huh. And just like that, after breaking up with Henry, I didn't take anything with me, but I took his parents. I became Henry's parents' goddaughter. At this moment, looking at the two figures busy in my kitchen, a sense of absurdity still rose in my heart. The day after the trending topic exploded, Henry called me. "Vivian, where are my parents?" As soon as they found out we broke up, they scolded me and said they were kicking me out of the house. How come they're both gone when I came back today? Well, cough, the elderly couple really did come with their luggage. After hanging up, in less than half an hour, Henry appeared at my door. As soon as Aunt Carol saw him, she said with a smile, "Oh, we have a visitor? Good daughter, who is this? Don't let in people you don't know." Uncle Bob was different. He didn't say a word and came out with a feather duster. Henry looked like he was about to cry, and immediately performed a dramatic collapse, flopping onto the sofa, sniffling and tearfully saying, "My parents ran off with my girlfriend. Our happy family of 4 has become just me, a lonely person. What did I do to deserve this?" While saying that, he posted on social media, "Give me back my parents, this 360-month-old kid can't live without his parents." Vivian. Earlier, my agent hadn't removed the trending topic to let me ride the wave. Netizens were still thinking about the issue of Henry and my child. As a result of Henry's post, netizens exploded again. "What the heck, they don't have a kid. You can't say he doesn't have a kid, but why is it Henry himself? A 360-month-old kid, typical you. So what's their relationship? Vivian stole Henry's parents? That's too dramatic. LOL, the entertainment industry is a mess." Henry was whining on the sofa by himself, while the 3 of us were eating. "This soup is really good. These spare ribs are delicious, Vivian, you should eat some. The lion's head meatballs are also very flavorful, great." He quietly scrolled through the trending topics and suddenly found some photos. Then he immediately jumped up from the sofa and exclaimed in surprise, "Vivian, when were these maternity photos taken?" He jumped up high and quickly ran in front of me, looking me up and down, left and right. "Seriously, we broke up 2 weeks ago, and you've already completed the entire process of pregnancy, maternity photos, and post-childbirth recovery?" Aunt Carol, who was used to his antics, put a piece of fish in my bowl and said calmly, "You know why we want a daughter now? There's something wrong with Henry." She pointed to her head. I burst out laughing. My friend wanted to practice maternity photography, so she put a fake belly on me. Henry suddenly realized and sat down awkwardly. I knew it. How could I not know? "What are you guys eating? Let me try if it's good." The change of topic was really stiff. Watching Henry devour the food, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Henry and I were trending, but this wasn't something that could be explained clearly anytime soon. My agent simply booked a variety show and had us go on it to explain. "Henry, I understand the reasoning, but I clearly asked for a dating show before." He glanced at me guiltily and then said through gritted teeth, "How did this turn into a friend's variety show?" "I Have a Friend" is the latest lifestyle reality show, where each pair of guests are friends in the industry and will live together under the same roof for a period of time. I was quite satisfied, mainly with the price. I was very satisfied with the price. Henry was still complaining. His agent winked at me, and I immediately understood. This is the one. Take it or leave it. If you don't record, Henry, I'll go record with Evan. It's just about teaming up to record a show anyway. Evan was my co-star in my last drama. Since there were many intimate scenes, Henry considered him a potential rival in love for a while after filming finished. Every day he would tell me 10,000 times that guy looks okay, but he's actually just average, nothing compared to me. Vivian, look at me, I'm more handsome than him, and my figure is better than his. So my words were effective. Henry immediately agreed, record it, this is the one. I heard him mutter softly, "Friends are friends, why can't a girlfriend be a friend too?" I kindly corrected him, to clarify, it's an ex-girlfriend. An ex-girlfriend who also stole his parents. On the first day of filming, Henry showed a side of himself completely different from his online image. He's in the movie industry, with excellent acting skills and box office appeal, so he usually doesn't bother with social media activity, which has created a public impression of him as a cool and distant A-list actor who doesn't talk much. But viewers who tuned into the live stream because of Henry's fame discovered. Henry was following me around like a shadow. "Vivian, have a bite. This is the 7th time I've improved this porridge, it's definitely delicious this time. Vivian, should we go to the aquarium in the morning or in the afternoon? Vivian, what do you want to do tomorrow? I know a master craftsman, how about we get some clothes made tomorrow?" And I was completely annoyed by the noise. "Shut up." Henry's eyes immediately turned red. "Vivian, you're yelling at me?" Oh no, he's going to cry. My heart softened again. No, don't cry, I wasn't yelling at you. The comments went wild. New here, is this a dating show? You're mistaken. This is a parenting show. Henry is the child. Vivian coaxing him looks exactly like my mom used to coaxing me. Henry was the same as before, staring at me with his innocent, tear-filled eyes. I didn't know what to do with him. Fortunately, the doorbell rang just then. Yay, my savior has arrived. I excitedly bounced over to open the door, with Henry following behind me. The moment he saw the visitors, he was truly dumbfounded and said helplessly, Mom, Dad, why are you here? Aunt Carol was amused. Oh, you're here? Lend a hand. I had invited Uncle Bob and Aunt Carol to film the show. They brought a lot of things in large and small bags. I invited them into the house. Henry was crying behind them. Is this what you call coming to join the fun? Uncle Bob and Aunt Carol's joining the show brought a lot of buzz. Netizens who had been discussing the trending topics before flooded the live stream. Are these Henry's parents? What's their relationship with Vivian? Judging by their attitude, it's reasonable to suspect Vivian is the uncle and aunt's daughter. Looks like Henry was adopted. Aunt Carol and I chatted on the sofa. Uncle Bob looked around and his gaze fell on the porridge Henry had made earlier. He picked it up and tasted it. Then, purely supported by fatherly love, he swallowed it expressionlessly. 3 seconds later, Uncle Bob exploded, cursing. What the hell did you make? Who are you trying to poison? Uncle Bob pointed at the porridge in his hand, heartbroken. This is a sin. I have such great cooking skills, and you didn't inherit them, but how did you manage to go in the opposite direction? Seeing that Uncle Bob was about to start a new round of lecturing, Henry quickly dragged him to the kitchen. Come on, Dad, teach me properly. Let's make fish. Vivian loves fish. Aunt Carol watched from the side with a look of disgust. Who is this idiot? Did we pick up the wrong baby? With 2 elders in the room, the atmosphere between Henry and me was less awkward. We filmed until noon, and the production team interviewed us separately. The directors asked, what is your relationship? We both had scripts, so this was the time to cue the Friends theme. But when I saw Henry's eyes curve into a smile, I had a bad feeling. Sure enough, the next second he drew out his words, of course, is. I covered his mouth with my hand and warned him in a low voice, dare to say a single wrong word and I'll break your legs. Then I faced the camera and gave a standard professional smile. Of course, we're friends. I released my hand from restraining Henry, and he stood beside me, looking aggrieved, and added. Friends who share parents. I tried to smooth things over. Uncle and Auntie are very good to me and recognized me as their goddaughter. Henry was visibly upset. His small eyes had changed from a look of resentment to shock. What? No one in the whole family told me about such a big thing? I took a bracelet from my wrist and handed it to him. Here, to make up for the mistake. I'm telling you now. Take it. This is a gift for Big Brother. Henry was about to cry because it was our token of love. Back then, to pursue me, he specially commissioned a famous master in the industry to craft this bracelet. Meaning, once you put it on, it's for life. Although I suspected he made up this meaning, the sentiment behind this gift was genuine. I broke up with him suddenly and hadn't settled things like this yet. This was a good opportunity to give it back to him. But Henry stared fixedly at the bracelet, his lips tightly pursed, not saying a word. His eyes seemed to well up with tears. I glanced at the comments. Hurry up and comfort him, he looks like he's about to shatter. The deep affection of a funny guy is the most deadly. To the person before, my brother is not a funny guy, thank you. He just needs some sleeping pills. Could it be that I was being too inconsiderate? During the rest of the interview, Henry's mood was subdued. When asked what he most wanted to do with a friend, he replied, sleep. When asked what he liked to do most, he said, sleep. When asked what he did most often, he said, sleep. Comments sharply pointed out, I always feel like he's calmly going crazy. In the compatibility challenge, when asked what my wish was, he said, sleep. Oh no. Henry remembered something and put on a mysterious face. If you say your wish out loud, it won't come true. It won't come true, and then she'll break my leg. He emphasized the words leg. Okay, I'm sure he's really sulking. After the interview, he dragged me into the room and said with puffed out cheeks, you can break up if you want. He stomped his foot in anger. Why did you give the bracelet back? I was speechless. Do you want to hear what you're saying? He grabbed my hand without explanation, carefully put the bracelet back on, and said, wear it. Breaking up is fine, I can just pursue you again. This is a promise for life, there's no giving it back. Let me tell you, I'm treating this as a dating show. Whether you like it or not, I'm going to be good to you. Unless you truly don't like me anymore, don't even think about getting rid of me. If you have the guts, say you don't like me now. Go on, say it. Henry had an expression that said if you actually say it, I'll really cry in front of you. This person is really, so shameless. But I really couldn't say it. The filming finished just in time for dinner. Henry quickly and smoothly settled his parents into their seats, then pulled out the chair next to him and said to me quite gentlemanly, Princess, please be seated. My feelings were the same as Uncle Bob and Aunt Carol's. Sometimes dealing with Henry was quite frustrating. But he was clearly enjoying himself, meticulously picking out fish bones and putting them in my bowl. Princess, have some fish. He also served me soup. Princess, have some soup. Remember to spit out the bones. Comments found it amusing, not like a prince, more like a eunuch. Bro, that's enough. A princess and a eunuch have no future. Their family's emotional stability is amazing. How can they stand not hitting him? Princess, please slap him. Uncle Bob and Aunt Carol only stayed for one day and then left. They felt lucky they came, otherwise, Henry would have poisoned me to death on the first day. Before they left, they packed lots of dumplings and stuffed them into the fridge, telling Henry, if you make that burnt stuff again, I'll hit you. They also held my hand and said with concern, Vivian, if you want to eat anything, just send us a message, and we'll come make it for you again. Henry quietly opened the door. You should hurry up and leave. If you two don't want to spend time alone as a couple, don't stop me from wanting to. Henry had a confident look and took charge of our schedule for the next few days. The next day, we went to the ocean park. Henry wasn't wearing a mask, his face was bare, and he was jumping around in the sun like an idiot. I quietly complained to the cameraman, please keep up. Otherwise, you won't be able to catch him later. Once inside, Henry was like a wild horse unleashed. Before long, he was out of sight. The cameraman looked like he was about to cry and asked for my help. Vivian, can you help contact Henry? I said helplessly, come with me. I walked straight towards a certain place, and the cameraman followed behind, asking in a low voice, Sis, don't you need to make a call to confirm his location? I shook my head, don't worry, no need. I know where he is. I walked all the way to the dolphin exhibit. I checked the time, and there was a dolphin show in 20 minutes. Looking around, I indeed saw Henry. He was standing at what could be called the best viewing spot, standing up and waving at us. He was as enthusiastic as a monkey. As I got closer, Henry was chatting with the people around him. Oh, yeah, our kid also loves watching the dolphin show. What, yours too? What a coincidence. Do I look like an actor? Oh, I'm not that handsome. You flatter me. Oh, filming a show? Nah, we're filming for social media. If you mind, we'll blur you out later. He was talking a mile a minute, making the people around him laugh. Henry was just that kind of person. Even though he was a multi-millionaire and a renowned A-list actor, when he returned to everyday life, he was someone who made himself happy and made others happy too. When I was still a few steps away, Henry suddenly stood up and pulled me over. Come on, the spot is good here. The cameraman was in the back row, which made it easy for Henry to slip something into my arms. I looked, and it was a handful of colorful candies. Henry whispered, just chatted with the people next to us, the kid gave it to me. For you to eat. I unwrapped one and put it in my mouth. It was orange flavored, sweet. Henry was humming a tune next to me, and my heart seemed to relax along with him. After watching the show, Henry suddenly leaned close to my shoulder and said in a playful tone, "Want to play a game?" "What?" "Just the simplest, rock paper scissors. One round decides the winner. The bet is to imitate a seal down there after everyone leaves. What do you say, want to bet?" Henry's eyes curved, and there was a cunning glint in them. I unexpectedly agreed, bring it on, who's afraid of who? We both threw at the same time. He threw rock, and I stared at my scissors hand, lost in thought. The cameraman behind me couldn't hold back his laughter. I took a deep breath. All right, imitating a seal it is. Tomorrow's trending topic would be unknown actress loses to A-list actor, performs seal clapping his belly on the spot. As I stood up, Henry grabbed me. "What are you doing?" Henry still had a playful smile on his face. "I didn't say the loser has to do it. I feel like acting. I'll go down there and act like a seal. Don't you steal my thunder. You just sit here. It's the best spot." Then he really did push me back into the seat and jogged down to the stage himself. The camera focused on Henry. A 30-year-old man, an A-list actor with countless awards, stood in front of the pool, clapping his belly with his hands alternately. As he clapped, he laughed and asked me, "Vivian, how is it? Does it look like a seal?" This segment caused a surge in the comments. Is this something I can watch for free? Movies aren't as good as this. My brother who's desperate to mate. Henry in front of others, cool A-list actor. Henry in front of Vivian, funny seal. This show is more addictive than the dating show next door. After Henry finished his performance, he rushed over to me, his voice slightly breathless before he even stopped. "How was it? Did it look like a seal?" I nodded, "Yeah, like a gorilla." Henry put his arm around my shoulder. "All right, don't hold it in anymore. Laugh if you want to. The corner of your mouth is twitching." As soon as he finished speaking, we looked at each other and smiled. In the end, we were both leaning back in our chairs, laughing uncontrollably. When I got back that night, I checked the trending topics, and sure enough, that clip from earlier had blown up. Fortunately, most of the netizens watching the show were praising how funny it was, with no overly malicious comments. But I was still a little worried and asked Henry, "Doesn't this kind of thing affect your career?" Henry looked surprised. "Did I cheat or solicit prostitutes? Is it wrong for me to pursue my ex-girlfriend? I'll still film movies. It doesn't affect anything. I just got another movie offer. I'll join the cast after this show wraps up. I was worried about it affecting you, though. But I can't control myself." There was some apology in his tone. Henry was worrying too much. I'd been playing supporting roles for years. I don't have many fans, but they're all fans of my acting. I had observed that when I was trending before, they were all shouting, "Check out our sister. She has both looks and acting skills, investing in her is a sure bet." So, after the show aired, the overwhelming amount of people shipping us actually helped me gain a lot of attention. It seemed I had accidentally been boosted by a top star. I sighed. It seems I've also found my way into the entertainment industry. I've got one foot in the door now. Henry handed me a glass of warm milk. "It's late, how about we get our hands on something else?" His other hand, with clearly defined knuckles, was resting steadily on his abs. His eyes were full of anticipation as he looked at me. I decisively took the milk. No need. Then I turned and walked into the room, closed and locked the door, all in one go. Early the next morning, Henry came knocking on my door. I was still half asleep. Seeing me like this, Henry smiled softly. "Quick, I'm taking you to do something special today." He was up even earlier than the chickens. The cameraman who was supposed to follow us hadn't arrived yet. Henry was already carrying his bag and pulling my hand to go out. "Don't we need to film?" He smiled mysteriously. "There's enough time, just come with me first." It wasn't even light when we left, but under the faint starlight, I felt it was nice just following him. An hour later, I didn't think that anymore. At 5 a.m., he dragged me mountain climbing. I plopped down on a rock by the roadside. How about you just kill me? I can't climb another step. There was still some distance to the summit, but the mountain mist had rolled in, and the air was cool all around. Henry took a jacket from his bag and draped it over me, then naturally pulled my hand over his shoulder. Get on, I'll carry you. I instinctively refused. No, you'll be tired. But he insisted, tightening his grip on my hand, as if he wouldn't let go unless I got on. After a few minutes of stalemate, Henry softened his tone and coaxed, Vivian, I really want to see the sunrise. If we don't go up now, we'll miss it. For the rest of the way, he carried me up step by step. The mountain path was rugged, but his steps were steady. This was the first time we watched a sunrise together. As the first ray of dawn sprinkled onto the horizon, I suddenly had the urge to cry. He gently put his arm around me. Vivian, don't cry, okay? His tone was soft, like a dream. For the cameraman, it must have been a nightmare. When they got to the house, they found we weren't there and kept calling us frantically. Henry and I ran back quickly. Fortunately, we didn't make them wait too long. The start of today's show immediately gave the audience a big highlight. It's 9 a.m. now, why are they coming back from outside? Could they have gone for a morning run? No wonder they're celebrities, so disciplined. What? Everyone else is already exercising? I woke up too early, I'll sleep in a bit longer. We quickly freshened up and started today's schedule. Henry was beaming. I could feel how happy he was today from 3 meters away. This continued until we entered an antique-looking shop. The shop was elegantly decorated, but it was unclear what it did. It wasn't until a master craftsman came out with his tools that I realized Henry had specifically arranged for someone to tailor clothes for me. While measuring, Henry chatted, Vivian, don't worry, Edward's craftsmanship is amazing. Lots of people are lining up for him. Edward nodded, can't help it, you gave me too much money, kid. Even if I have to work overtime, I'll make yours first. The young lady is so pretty. Are you a big star? I was too shy to answer. Henry, however, kept nodding enthusiastically, yeah, Edward, you have good taste. She's my big star. It made my face burn up. After a while, my heart remained uneasy. What kind of clothes are these, suddenly being made? Could it be? I didn't dare think about it anymore, because I remembered not long ago, when Henry was filming out of town, I sent him a breakup text message. We had actually broken up. So what were we doing now? Seeing my pale face, Henry reached out and touched my forehead, saying to himself, no fever, is something wrong, Vivian? I came back to my senses and shook my head. He paused for a few seconds, then as if he had thought of something, he lowered his head, his mood subdued. Are you worried it's a wedding dress? When he said that, he became much more dejected. I quickly tried to find something to say to fix it, but my words came out clumsily, that's not what I meant. You. I didn't know how to explain, so I could only place my hand on his back, gently stroking it up and down. 3 seconds later, Henry's expression suddenly changed. His previously dejected look vanished, replaced by a bright smile. Don't worry, Vivian, it's just regular clothes. I haven't even proposed yet. If I were making a wedding dress, would definitely ask for your opinion beforehand. I'm not that unreliable. When he reached the last sentence, he lifted his head high, like a little dog waiting to be praised. I stood there stunned, not knowing how to respond. Henry grabbed my wrist and said cheerfully, let's go eat. We unexpectedly ran into his parents while eating. The elderly couple immediately pulled me over and linked arms with me. Henry's face was as black as charcoal. We ended up eating in the same private room. Uncle Bob and Henry were ordering. Henry sulked and insisted on ordering for me. I looked at the two menus that were almost identical and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Henry exploded, seriously, you should at least consider what I want to eat, right? Can't I just order for Vivian? Dad, don't you care about me at all? As soon as he finished speaking, Uncle Bob gave him a roll of his eyes. Aunt Carol chimed in, don't care about you? What are you talking about? Come on, Vivian, you be the judge. Aunt Carol started recounting Henry's past like rattling off a list. When Henry was little, he insisted on learning the Swona. We signed him up for classes. But he only learned the beginning and then quit. His dad took the rest of the classes, playing it so much that his neck got 3 sizes thicker. In middle school, he said he wanted to learn hip-hop dance, so we sent him. But after 3 months, he would make us watch his physical therapy performance every night. Later, he said he was going to film movies. We didn't agree. With his personality, in the entertainment industry, we were afraid someone would bag him someday. But we still agreed. When he got sick while filming, we flew there overnight to take care of him. When the movie came out, we booked the whole theater and invited friends and family to watch. Vivian, tell me, isn't this little brat heartless for saying we don't care about him? Aunt Carol got more and more emotional as she spoke. Finally, she slapped Uncle Bob's thigh, making him yell ow. Henry had his head buried like an ostrich next to them. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, leave me some dignity. I was laughing as hard as the viewers in the comments section. If they keep filming, Henry will have no dignity left. Let's change the show's name to Henry's Adventures. But this family is so loving. You can feel the harmonious atmosphere through the screen. Being there, I felt even more enveloped by this strong family affection. I just felt that it was even sweeter than any candy I had ever eaten. After a while, Henry quietly sent me a message. Just a very short sentence, Vivian, my parents can also be your parents. After the meal, as we said goodbye to the elders, Aunt Carol pulled me aside before leaving and quietly said, Vivian, if he does anything wrong, just tell him, and he'll change. I shook my head, no, Auntie, he's very good. Henry is the best person I've ever met. So good that I can't even imagine the pain of losing him. On the way home, Henry held my hand the entire way. He didn't shy away from the cameras either. In his words, don't treat the audience like idiots. If they can't tell I love you by now, they need to see a doctor. Those words were obnoxious. Thankfully, he didn't talk much on public platforms before, otherwise, his uncle and aunt's worry about him getting bagged might have actually happened. The last episode of the show happened to coincide with Henry's birthday. He was hanging around me 2 days in advance. Hey Vivian, do you notice any changes in me? Do you feel like I've become a bit more mature? I said expressionlessly, no. He pressed on, then for the new year, do you have any requests for me? He emphasized new. I was laughing internally but kept a poker face, no. Henry walked away, looking dejected. He thought I had forgotten his birthday. Hilarious, I couldn't forget it at all. The show was trending every day, and I had to surf the web on my private account every night. His fan club had started celebrating his birthday days in advance, okay? But I was still worried about the gift. If I gave him a gift I bought with money, Henry would probably wail, Vivian, you really don't care about me anymore, you just casually bought something to get rid of me. If I made it myself, I really wasn't good at crafting. I searched online for answers, and the best one was, give him a day of peace and quiet from his busy routine. Perfect, it met the requirements. I booked a flight out of town overnight. When Henry's birthday arrived, he was up even earlier than I was. I pushed open the door and saw Henry wearing a pink leopard apron, serving noodles onto the table. Morning. Come eat. He made longevity noodles for himself, served me a bowl with 2 eggs, and looked at me expectantly, hinting, Vivian, how is it? Is the quality of these noodles good enough for longevity noodles? It's all right. Henry was amused and said to himself, then I'll make them for you on your birthday too. The atmosphere was nice at this point, but after a while, the show started filming. Henry went into his room for a bit and came out with a low mood. I sat on the sofa, holding a book, but my eyes kept glancing at Henry beside me. What's wrong? Henry didn't answer, and I was a little flustered. Did he find out? He shouldn't have. I plucked up the courage to ask, did you find out something? Henry turned his head, staring intently at me, and nodded stiffly. Are you going to explain yourself? Oh no, explain what? I was clearly planning to give him a surprise. Seeing that I didn't answer for 3 seconds, Henry's face turned very dejected. Then he grabbed my arm and pulled me to the balcony, also telling the cameraman, don't follow this part. Henry and I stood side by side. He lowered his head and stared at his toes, then after a long silence, he asked in a muffled voice, Vivian, did I do something wrong somewhere? I was confused. Huh? No. Henry's voice was tearful. Then why do you still want to leave me? Huh? What kind of question is that? He pursed his lips tightly, his eyes filled with tears, making my heart flutter. I didn't. Henry took a breath and said rapidly, you're going to Q City, right? Don't deny it, I know everything. Your agent came to ask my agent for recommendations of fun places to visit, and then my agent came to ask me. I know everything, you're leaving. What did I do wrong? Please tell me, I can change. Henry was still talking sadly. I suddenly understood. So this is how I was exposed. But this is just a big misunderstanding. I stepped forward and reached out to hug Henry tightly. It's not what you think. I asked her to help me find out where you wanted to go. I booked a flight to Q City and also contacted your agent to help clear your schedule. I want to go with you. Henry's sobbing stopped. He was half convinced. You're not just trying to make me feel better, are you? I clicked on my phone's search history and showed it to him. It was full of things like couple travel recommendations, top 10 places to visit with your loved one, etc. Henry glanced at it, then pulled me into his arms again, and repeatedly exclaimed with a tone of having found something lost, thank goodness, thank goodness. Vivian, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Henry, why are you so good? I gently patted his back. No. You're very good. After a while, they returned to the sofa. He openly placed my hand on his leg and played with the bracelet on my wrist from time to time, leaning in and whispering, I told you this bracelet would bind us together tightly, didn't I? You didn't believe me, but do you believe me now? Huh? Childish, I couldn't be bothered to respond. Henry tilted his head left and right like a puppy, rubbing against me continuously. Quickly say you believe me. Say it, say it. Okay, I believe. Henry was satisfied and moved even closer to me. The comments were going crazy. I feel like that dog on the side of the road who got kicked. Get married. I'll give 20,000, put it on Evan's account. Great, I just love watching sweet stuff. Isn't this better than a dating show? Can you two please film a movie with a romance plot? I used to not be able to imagine what Henry's eyes would look like when he's in love, but now I know. Finished watching the show, and they're together now. I'm still single, right? The day after the show finished filming, we flew to Q City. Standing in front of the famous Lovers Lake there, Henry was as happy as a child. I suddenly felt grateful that I had met him. That day, Henry casually asked me, Vivian, can you tell me the reason why we broke up last time? Afraid I wouldn't answer, he continued, oh well, it's okay if you don't want to say. I just want to know what I did wrong so I can change it in the future. He blinked his big eyes and said cheesily, of course, even if you don't tell me, I'll try to love you even more. Facing his sincere and passionate love, I confessed everything. My dad killed himself. Henry was startled. I'm sorry, Vivian, I shook my head. I'm not sad about his death. You don't need to apologize. When I was very young, both my parents cheated on each other and lived separate lives. They said they didn't divorce for my sake, but they only left me at my grandparents' house. When I was a child, my friends all had parents picking them up, but I didn't. I felt sad then. But when I grew up, I didn't feel sad anymore. Later, I learned the word love. I brainwashed myself into thinking they didn't want me because of their respective loves. I never thought I could speak these words so calmly one day. But, he actually killed himself. He was with his mistress. That person stole his money, and the child she had wasn't even his. He lost everything, paid off his debts, and then killed himself. Before he killed himself, he suddenly called me and asked how I was doing. He actually asked me if my grandparents left any messages for him when they passed away. The moment I heard the news, I felt as if the carefully constructed lie I had built for myself for so many years had been shattered. If he left me for love, what was his love? Does such a thing as love even exist in the world? Henry's love for me, the warmth his family gave me, made me feel a sense of shame, as if I didn't deserve it. The incompleteness of my original family is just that unreasonable. Even after escaping for years, in a single moment, all my defenses would crumble. For the first time, Henry didn't know what to say, only gripping my hand woodenly. After a long while, my emotions slowly calmed down. The lake in front of me was like a lover's eyes. I said, "Henry, thank you. It's you who made me truly feel what love is. It's you who stubbornly loved me even when I timidly retreated." But Henry chuckled softly. "Vivian, do you remember the first time we met? That was the first drama I participated in. The story was about rural teaching. Henry was the lead actor, and I was just a nameless extra who got the part because the location was too difficult and no one else wanted to go. Another actor at the time was playing a teacher. The children didn't understand filming, so even when the camera moved away, they timidly approached the teacher, taking out a wrinkled apple from their pocket and saying, "Teacher, I picked this apple for you." But it was roughly knocked away. That actor was arrogant, rolled his eyes dismissively, and mumbled, "Don't you even have a mom? Wearing such ragged clothes. What kind of dirty thing is this? What if I get diarrhea after eating it?" Everyone around heard it, but no one said a word. The child stood there helplessly. I don't know where I found the courage, but I ran up and hugged the child, smiling and asking, "Can you share half with me?" That actor immediately got angry and cursed, "Where did you come from? Are you trying to show off?" He looked at my face and confirmed I was an unimportant small role with no connections, so he started to mock me. "Oh, a little extra, trying to get ahead this way? Dream on." But I didn't have time to deal with him. My mind was full of the words, "Don't even have a mom." Actually, the child did have a mom, but she went to work in another town and could only come back to see him during Chinese New Year every year. The child had said his parents often asked people from their hometown to bring him a big bag of cookies when they came back. He had a mom. "Senior, you shouldn't curse him like that," I said with a cold face. Even now, I can still recall that unpleasant encounter. That actor was enraged and raised his hand to hit me. That's when Henry came back from outside and blocked his hand. After asking the people nearby, Henry also pulled a long face and told the actor to apologize. He did apologize, but I was on edge every day. After all, I was just a small extra, and only felt scared when I thought back on it later. But unexpectedly, I wasn't kicked out of the cast. It wasn't until much later that I found out Henry told the directors not to make trouble for me. Now that Henry asked, I smiled and said, "Even after so many years, even after saying thank you, when I think about that day, I still have to thank you." Henry shook his head. "Vivian, that's not what I meant. What I actually wanted to say is, when you stepped up that day, the thought of protecting you came into my mind. You feel you don't deserve love, but I think meeting you is the luckiest thing that ever happened to me. Our loving each other is the most important thing in this world." Henry's epilogue. Vivian thought I didn't know anything. She's so silly. How could I not feel her nervousness the first time she came to my house? She didn't grow up in a loving family, so I'll just give her more love. One day she was drunk and talked to me ramblingly for a long time. She said when she was little, she hated eating fish, because when she went to her friend's house, the friend's parents would pick out the fish bones for their child. She was only 6 years old then and didn't know what love was, but she felt what it was like to not be loved. Later, she didn't dare to go to her friend's house anymore, nor did she want to eat fish again. Fortunately, I have a dad who's a great cook. I carefully picked out the fish bones and coaxed Vivian to eat. Seeing the satisfied look on her face, I thought she looked really beautiful. She said she never went to amusement parks or aquariums when she was little. So I asked her to go with me every month. She probably didn't know, but every time she saw the dolphins show, her eyes would light up. Vivian, how could you think you weren't worthy? My parents and I gave her a lot of love, and she gave us a lot of love too. Every time Dad cooked, Vivian would eat it all and praise him for doing a good job, making the old man so happy he couldn't wait to cook a couple more dishes. Every time Mom wanted to follow trends and fashion, Vivian would seriously give her advice, and the two of them would be up late at night discussing what clothes to wear and what accessories to match the next day. So when I told Mom and Dad we broke up, they got angry for the first time. The old couple spoke to me in such a serious tone for the first time. Henry, we can tolerate you being halfway with things and liking to play and goof off when you were little. But you cannot hurt Vivian, understand? I thought about it and kept the fact that Vivian wanted to break up with me to myself. If she wanted to break up, fine. I can just pursue her again. Later, I did pursue her and succeeded. The most sappy and straightforward love confessions in the world, I can say without hesitation. Because Vivian, I love you so much. I asked Edward to make Vivian a cheapao. She was stunned when she received it, and then she laughed and cried when she came back to her senses. Because she once told me while filming, pink kipeos were very popular for little girls back then, and many people in my class had them. But it's okay, I'm wearing one for filming today. Anything you didn't get, I hope to make up for as much as possible. The day I successfully proposed, I posted on social media. You don't have to give my parents back, but you have to take me with you. Vivian. My parents' love is for you, and all my love is for you too.